All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the 182 News Podcast. This is your host, Poppin' Curbs, and I appreciate you tuning in to another episode. On the last one, we talked to my buddies Allan Corona and David Salis about the new bass guitar they made specifically for Mark Hoppus. They designed it for him. It had all types of cool Easter eggs and designs and colors that were unique to it. I wanted to get the story on that. I wanted to know how they figured out what they were going to do with this, how they got it to Mark, their intentions behind it. I hope you enjoyed that. It was really rad. Definitely listen to that one if you haven't yet. Today, I'm stoked. We've got a couple things to talk about. So for those of you who follow me on social media at Poppin' Curbs on Twitter and Instagram, you've seen that the past couple days I was in California. And I think I mentioned this even on the last pod. So honestly, I wanted to schedule just a bit of a getaway. I'm fully vaccinated. The world's opening up just a little bit. Wife and I are kind of going stir crazy here in Indiana. And I just wanted to get away and go watch a couple baseball games. If you know me, the two things that really are my getaways, typically my vacations, are baseball games and concerts. Concerts aren't back yet, but baseball games are, at least in limited capacities. So I started looking. I had some days I needed to burn PTO-wise at work, and so I decided to take off to California for kind of a long weekend. For those of you who've listened to some of the previous episodes, you'll know that I've only been in California 2 days prior to this, and it was the 2013 Untitled anniversary shows in LA. I was in LA for 2 days and flew my ass right back to Indiana. Interestingly enough, I was planning on going solo on this trip just to get away, but my good friend Matt, who you've probably heard on a previous episode, my Blink friend in real life, he was the one who went with me to that Palladium show in LA, huge Blink fan. He said, dude, if you want some company, I am totally down. And I said, heck yeah, let's do it. So we went on a bit of an adventure. Initially, we were just going to catch some baseball games and hang out. Obviously, I'm only in California, I don't know, once every 8 years at this point. Decided to check out some cool Blink history, some cool things that I've seen, online following Blink for years, just being a fan of the band. There were some places that I totally had to check out. I had some followers reach out to me, or like, dude, if you're going out there, you got to hit this up. You got to hit this up. So I'll get into that here in a little bit. And then we've also got some Angels and Airwaves stuff to talk about. So obviously today I'm recording this on Wednesday, the 19th. They just dropped their first single off of the new album. So definitely going to touch base on everything going on in Angels and Airwaves land. Exciting time for that band. Excited to see what's going to happen with the new album. They announced some shows today, so I'll dig into that just a little bit deeper later on in the episode. So to kick off, let's talk about the LA trip real quick. I had some people responding to my post saying, dude, we want to hear about this on the pod. I didn't know if it would be particularly interesting enough or if anybody would care, but let's get into it just a little bit. So initially we flew out to San Diego. I will say, even though I'm fully vaccinated, rocking a mask, the airports were kind of sketch, to be honest. This is my first time getting out since the pandemic started. In the airports, I didn't feel, particularly sketched out. Now, the planes were a different story. Both of my planes were packed. People right on top of each other. They want you to wear a mask, but as soon as everybody gets in there, they either slide it underneath their nose, or as soon as they start taking a drink or snacking, it just goes away. So as Mark likes to call it, on the fart tube of the plane, it was a little bit scary, to be honest. I know some of you probably haven't even been out of the house or certainly not ventured out traveling wise. So I thought I'd kind of mention that because it was a little odd, to be honest. So we landed in San Diego, and right away we had plans to meet previous podcast guest Jeffrey Pereira, my buddy who tour manages for Angels and Airwaves. So he was on the podcast several months back. Awesome 2-part interview. Really appreciated his insight there. And we wanted to meet him out for lunch. He hit me up and was like, if you're in town, dude, let's do it. I said, fuck yeah. So we met initially at this place called the Crack Shack, I think. Okay. So I think it was right on this corner in Little Italy, I want to call it. And I had never been to San Diego, so apologies if I butcher any of these nearby towns or any of these locations. We were starving. We left Indiana at 3 a.m. We get into San Diego around noon, and I really hadn't eaten shit all day. So we were starving. We met at this little corner place called the Crack Shack, which was the bomb. It was really cool to eat outside. Something that's just so weird to me being from Indiana and just kind of sitting outside is all these fucking huge birds that were just around us eating outside trying to get the food. So I was super weirded out by these massive birds that just really wanted this chicken sandwich from me and these French fries. So we met up with Jeff. Awesome to catch up with him. Hadn't really chatted to him too much since I had him on the pod. Obviously exciting times in Angels and Airwaves land. Had some stuff off the record, but he was able to share some stuff with me that I'm happy to share with you all. I was able to listen to Euphoria. I watched the video before it even came out. Super stoked. He said I was the first person really outside of the band camp that saw that. And he was totally comfortable and said I was able to share that. And so for those of you who follow Blink 182 online, you probably saw, I don't know what day that was. Let's see, Thursday. I think I put out a little bit of a teaser saying I can confirm the song's out and the video's out and it's dope. Only got to listen to it once, but I knew right away that one, Tom had teased this song prior, and two, that it packs a punch and was pretty rad. So that was awesome of him to let me see that, let me watch that in advance. They've been busy. Angels and Airwaves are really starting to kick into gear. We know Tom's been talking for a while now. Well, pretty much always. Big things are coming, but really big things are coming. We'll dig a little bit deeper into that later on in the episode, but I can say they have 3 videos done. So there's going to be 3, singles per se that are going to drop. And I will say the stuff that was announced today is not all of it. And that's as far as I can go on that. But there's definitely going to be some more announcements coming out of Angels Land and exciting times. So stoked to see what ends up happening there. When we were done, we were right next to David Kennedy's coffee shop, James Coffee. So David Kennedy, he's now back in Angels and Airwaves. He was with Boxcar Racer. He was with Angels and Airwaves for a while. Kind of took a break in between on the Dreamwalker era. And this was one of the places that I knew coming to San Diego I wanted to hit up just to see it, just to take a picture, just to see what it looks like. I've followed them on social media forever. I always support all these dudes and their side ventures. And it was cool to get a little bit of history. I talked to Jeff about that. Why is it called James Coffee? I didn't even know that, but apparently that is David's middle name as well as his father's name. And so he and David and his brother started this and kind of named it after their father, which was great. So went there, really cool place. I don't know if you follow them, but a lot of times they'll repost or share pictures of planes going directly over it. At the location that I'm at, which is like the main one. It's the one I always see them post online. There's 3 of them actually, but this one is in Little Italy. It's kind of a white building and it has their owl logo painted on the side. And what's crazy about this area of San Diego is these planes come in hot, right above you. So there would be times where we would be talking and literally this fucking huge plane just comes out of nowhere and you just have to pause and then continue your conversation. So it was really cool to stand outside of David's coffee shop and just kind of look up and see these planes going by over and over. David was not there. I thought maybe we'd have a chance at running into him and kind of saying what up. But it was an awesome place. I wish I was a coffee snob. I want to be. I'm not quite there yet. I'm just kind of a Americano, hot French vanilla. Give me some sugar and I'm all good to go. And I asked the lady to give me something they recommend. It was delicious. One thing I did appreciate is they didn't use they don't have plastic or paper cups. They kind of give it to you in a mason jar and you're able to return that if you'd like or just continue reusing it. So that was cool. And then it comes in a little case, the little thing that comes around it on the mug or whatever, a koozie. So that was kind of a neat memento to take home. Rad time to get out there and check that out for sure. Later on in the evening, we checked into our hotel after meeting up with Jeff. And actually, as we were leaving, Jeff was like, yo, I got something for you real quick. And so we go over to Jeff's truck, and out of his truck, he pulls out, it's badass. I posted a picture of it on my Instagram. It's the front cover of Tom's old pedalboard case. And it says SR Stage Right PB1 pedalboard case. I guess number one. I don't know how many he had. And then it has a Blink 182 stamp on it. And Jeff hooked me up with that. You know, he knows how much I love Tom and Blink and how I collect stuff and kind of appreciates what I'm trying to do for the fans in my spare time. So he hooked me up with that. I was like, oh my God, dude, this is fucking rad. This thing's traveled with Tom and Blink all over the world, been on stage. Just a super cool piece of Blink history that he hooked me up with. And I'm forever grateful for it. That was super dope of Jeff to do that. Just a really rad dude. I can't wait to catch up with him again, hopefully pretty soon. Our hotel, we stayed in the little Gaslight district, I think it was called. It was right next to Petco Park. So I got a buddy who works for the Padres. So I knew we were good on tickets out there for the Friday night game. Of course, they were playing the Cardinals. So I'm from the Midwest here in Indiana, and I fucking hate the Cardinals. And of course, they were playing them. The tickets really at this point are limited capacity. So most of the baseball teams, as of now, they're only letting in, 25% of people. So I was kind of worried about getting tickets, and that's why I was, stoked my buddy was able to hook me up with them and I didn't have to worry about that. One thing I was bummed about, I don't know if anyone pays attention to baseball other than me and old people in the country, but the main reason I wanted to go out there and see the Padres, not only just to check out a new ballpark, but they have an up-and-coming superstar, Fernando Tatis Jr., who's widely regarded as the best in the game. And of course, the one time I make it out to San Diego and am set up to go watch a game, he's out with COVID, which sucks. And not only that, like 4 or 5 of their top players were out, but it didn't matter. At that point, I haven't seen live baseball in an hour or a year and a half, and I was just stoked to see anything like that in person. The hotel, the district we stayed in was pretty rad. That night, we went to the game. It was cool. For those of you who have been there, it's kind of a newer stadium, I feel like. I really liked the Tony Gwynn stuff they had around there. So Mr. Padre, absolute legend, gone far too soon. Me being the baseball geek I am, it was really cool to see the statues and streets named after him. They had his World Series jersey hanging in there, and that stuff I just go crazy for. So that was super cool. One thing that was really surprising to me about San Diego was how fucking cold it got at night. And actually, I'll get into this, but we got to LA. That was one of my takeaways as well. I mean, during the day it was cool. It was a little bit of overcast, but at night I was chilly. 50 with that breeze coming off was insane. One of the nights in San Diego, so I was asking people, where do we want to go to see the beach? And several people mentioned Encinitas. And so that probably sounds familiar. Tom posts from there all the time. I think Tom lives in that area. That's actually where Jeff lives as well. He recommended we go there. To the Stars, their shop was there. So one thing that I totally was looking forward to, if they were still around, was to hit up the To the Stars shop. If I ever made it out there, I wanted to hit them up just to check it out. Unfortunately, several months back, they closed that retail location. They're looking into newer locations really as we speak, but was kind of bummed to have that happen. But anyways, one of the mornings, my buddy I was with, Matt, he really wanted to see the beach. I was okay seeing the beach. I'm kind of over the beach, to be honest, but I was down to just explore and check it out. And everybody said, go hit up Encinitas. So we drove up to Encinitas. It wasn't too far away. Beautiful, calm little drive. And we went out there and walked the beach. And to me, I think that was the first time I've seen people surfing. And it was just a beautiful beach, super calm, super chill area. And when I was talking to Jeff at lunch, he said, Tom will come out here all the time. He said, if you're walking this beach in the morning, you might catch Tom just sitting out here relaxing. And I thought that was so cool, just for one, to be able to do that. But for two, as I was there hanging out on that beach, I mean, it was therapeutic. It was relaxing. I think I joked on my Instagram, one thing I noticed right away when I landed in California is all of my allergies from the Midwest. I have terrible allergies. I've been battling sinus infections left and right, constant coughing. And the day I land in California, I mean, I didn't sneeze once. Just the air. It's so sad and pathetic to say it, but I was just really stoked about clear air. That's how old and lame I am. But I was just breathing in the air and just taking in the view and the scene and how fucking peaceful it was and how beautiful the sand was and just relaxing. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can totally see, for one, why I think I've heard Tom say before that just chilling at the beach, I mean, it heals, the ocean heals. And so for me, I just couldn't imagine how rad it would be to be able, no matter what you're going through in your life, to be able to just walk out there and just sit on a fucking rock and just look out into that beautiful ocean and just to take that in day by day. I mean, it's really as if time was standing still and I was just totally stoked to just be alive in the moment. So for those of you who live out there or have been out there, you probably know what I'm talking about. And if not, you're probably like, this dude's fucking crazy, but I'm serious. It was really cool to see and just have that feeling. It's something you just don't get here in Indiana, to be honest. My buddy and I, we were joking. We were like, of all the places that Tom could choose to live, this is where he settled down, or this is where he wants to live at. And we could see why. I mean, it was just absolutely beautiful. In fact, I said, this is where you live when you wrote All the Small Things. So Encinitas was really rad. On the way back, there was a couple places that we just had to hit. And these were kind of on my bucket list as far as like some sort of Blink trip. And one of them was Lou's Records. So Lou's Records is a rad little record store. It's been around forever. And the history on this one is that back in the day, Tom would drop off Buddha demo tapes here. So to be able to walk into that store, and from the pictures I've seen from back in the day, it really looks the exact same. Lou, the owner, was there. But just to think that as them up and coming, were dropping off their demo tapes there, constantly checking to see if they needed to drop off any more. I mean, the Dude Ranch release party was there. You've probably seen pictures of people holding that Dude Ranch poster, that signed Dude Ranch promo poster they gave out on release day, walking out of that store, buying that record there for the first time. So to me, just to be able to walk through that same doorstep and just think about, all the history that's been there was really cool. I talked to Lou about Blink, about Tom. Tom just did a video just a year or two ago, walking through that store and kind of holding up different records and talking about what he used to go in there all the time and look for. So really cool piece of history right there. They had a couple Blink items in stock. I bought that new Buddha tricolor press from them. I needed that, which was rad. And then in the used CD section, I actually found a pretty old Cheshire Cat kind of second press from Grilled Cheese that I was stoked for. I'd actually been looking for that one. So to come out of there, walk through there, grab some Blink stuff, take some pictures. It was really cool. Totally recommend it to anybody who ends out that way. Another one we just had to hit on the way back was Sombreros. So initially, I wanted to go to Sombreros like as soon as we landed there. I've never been there. Obviously, in the song Josie, she brings me Mexican food from Sombreros just because everybody knows it. Everybody's heard it in Blinkland. And I wanted to check it out. And not only did I want to check it out, there's several locations. I wanted to go to the one that they would go to all the time. So the story goes, Tom and Mark would go there all the time, especially after shows. It ended up becoming a thing where you would go meet up at the Sombreros, get your burritos, hang out with the dudes on the curb outside. And so my buddy and I looked it up. It's a one in, I want to say, Rancho Bernardo. If anybody's out there, I can definitely get you the right address to it. But we pull up. It's not too crazy. It's kind of just in a random little shopping area next to like a Dunkin' Donuts and it's like a liquor store, I think. And we go in, and I've always seen, pictures of everybody who visits there. They always post pictures of the bathroom. And so I was expecting some huge bathroom, and then there's just a stall that's loaded up with graffiti about Blink and all this shit on the wall. And so initially, I actually had to go to the bathroom. So initially when we walk in, I tried to go straight to the bathroom for multiple reasons. And what I saw was I tried to open it. You can't even walk in. It's not even the public like multi-person bathroom. It's a single bathroom that as a customer, you have to go get a token from the front desk, from the cashier from, which was kind of weird. And so anyways, we go up there and order. I want to say it was just the California steak burrito. I asked them what they recommended. I have no clue. I'm usually pretty basic with just tacos and quesadillas. I don't even really get into burritos too much because they're usually so fucking huge I can't even eat them all. So we ordered, we sat down. While we were waiting, I get the token to go to the bathroom, and lo and behold, it's a small little nasty bathroom, and there's a little slab on the wall that they've left there that people go in and they sign their name and they put Blink-182 Life for Life. Somebody said I miss Scott Raynor. There was all types of stuff. I posted a picture of it on at Blink-182 Online if you haven't seen it. And actually there was a couple people who commented and were like, oh shit, my signature is still there from a couple years ago, or I see my name, we were there. So it's just a really cool thing, and just being a big fan of the band. There's probably people who walk in there and they're like, what the fuck is this? Or this place doesn't take care of this bathroom or something like that. And it's just something that they've left there just to do something cool. And it's just a cool, neat little thing for Blink fans. So the only other place you would be able to tell that it's affiliated with Blink is the front window has kind of a Blink memento. There's some pictures of it. And if you look, it's kind of a glass display near the front of the store. And if you look in there, you'll see about 5 or 6 pictures of Mark and Tom eating at that location. Some of them, they're signing fan mail, taking pictures with employees. And it's just really cool to have that when you walk in. And I guarantee you 99% of people who walk in there have no clue. They don't pay attention to it. Or even if they look at it, they may not recognize them or think it's the owner's kids or something, or have no idea. But it's there. Now, I was trying to figure out where in the pictures that they were sitting, or maybe, what booth they were at. I think the place has been remodeled a little bit. The pictures didn't really give me a good location on if there was like a particular booth they always set up at or anything like that. But it was just really cool. The food was okay. Nothing particularly special. I wasn't expecting, a 5-star meal or anything like that. I did not finish that burrito. It was fucking massive. But all in all, great experience. Totally recommend it for anybody who goes out there. It was just cool, once again, to have that little piece of history. Everybody knows it. Everybody's heard it in the song. So just really rad to go out there and do that. Now, one of the days when we were just kind of exploring, one of the things I wanted to hit up was the music hall where they filmed the Damn It music video. So we drove by that. This was a little bit closer to, I want to say, Beverly Hills. So the next morning, we went to the game, 2 days in San Diego, and the next morning we drove up to LA. And honestly, I was surprised at how chill the drive was. It was 2 hours, 20 minutes. Wasn't that bad. Traffic wasn't that bad. From what I gather, the COVID situation, they're kind of still partially on lockdown. So that may have worked in our favor. I'm sure it did. But really, my takeaways from the trip were the traffic really wasn't too bad. And the weather was way shittier than I expected, to be honest. But so we drove up to LA because we were going to spend a couple days there, catch the Dodgers game. And on the way in, one of the places I wanted to stop at for sure was the music hall. So if you go back and watch the Damn It music video, you will see that they recorded this at this theater. And I thought it would be cool to drop by and get a picture of that and just walk along the street just like they did and just kind of see where it was at in town. Definitely recommend it. I didn't go inside. I didn't know if they were even open, to be honest, but it was cool just to walk around, take some pictures of the front and the back. And it looks exactly the same, pretty much. It's pretty wild to think that, so many years ago, they were stoked getting ready to record this, big time budget music video for what would become just a huge fucking song for them. And it was honestly just really, really cool. We ended up staying, it was closer to Santa Monica Pier. So it was funny when I was looking up hotels, and I hate booking this shit and I hate even dealing with it. And obviously I'm not from the area. I have no clue if there's a good part of town, bad part of town, where to stay. But I was looking up hotels near Dodger Stadium. That's where we were. That was the main attraction. We were going there, so that's where I wanted to stay. And when I was looking at the hotels, I mean, everything within a 2 mile radius was like trap house, reeks of weed, trap house. I'm like, oh fuck, we might have to get a little bit further than a mile from Dodger Stadium. I'm not trying to get mugged or die out here. So we looked a little bit closer to Santa Monica Pier. Found a decent hotel. I liked our one in San Diego a little bit better, but we ended up going to Crossroads. So when we got in town, once again, starving, wanting to eat somewhere, this was a bucket list thing of mine. If I was going to be out there, I wanted to hit up Travis's vegan restaurant, Crossroads. So you've probably seen him post it. If not, you've definitely seen it in his Instagram story, whether he's just getting the food or sometimes he'll post their little logo, which is just, it's kind of like two knives in a cross shape. I think he even recently got it tattooed on him somewhere, to be honest. So Travis, obviously vegan. He has this vegan restaurant that I think he's either majority owner or co-owner in for sure. And I wanted to eat there. Now, heads up, you got to get reservations there. That's something I didn't realize until we were driving up there. And here I am, rocking a flat bill and hi, my name is Mark stuff. I was just thinking, oh God, I don't even have dress clothes. I hope there's not a dress code in here, but thankfully there was not, so you don't have to worry about that. But we pulled up there and we had a reservation. We went to the back. I've heard Travis say before that the chicken and waffles are just amazing. And we caught there, it was about, 1:00. So it was brunch hours. And so I had to try the chicken and waffles. Mostly, because not only have I heard it's amazing, but two, I was really curious to see what vegan chicken tastes like. And because of social distancing, they put us in kind of a weird back room. And the more I was sitting there think about it, it dawned on me that, obviously this is Travis's restaurant. He's been there a million times. Apparently it's kind of a hot spot to run into people. I don't give a fuck about running into anybody. But one of the things that was cool to me was I remembered that back, 2015, this is where Mark and Travis invited Matt to lunch and asked him to join Blink-182. And the history of that was just mind-blowing enough. And also, there's a pretty damn good chance the room I was sitting in, which was this back little room that could totally be, roped off or curtained off, it might have been in that fucking room. So my buddy and I were just sitting there talking. We're like, dude, we may be sitting where Mark and Travis first asked Matt if he would play with them and Blink-182. Obviously, nobody knew what was to come, but this has been, kicked off a whole new era of Blink, which is just insane. The food was amazing. It was so fucking good. My buddy had a breakfast burrito that was vegan eggs and had some vegan sausage in it. He said it was solid. And that chicken and waffles, I'm blown away by that type of vegan chicken. It was better than most real chicken tenders I've had, which is just crazy. I've tried to go vegan before and it just really ended up fucking with me. And I don't know if it was just the meal prep that ended up being too hard, or if I just got sick of beans and rice and not being able to buy the freshest shit all the time. But I was like, good Lord, if I had a chef or somebody cooking me this type of shit all the time, I could 100% go vegan, because this is the shit. It was really good. So if you're out there, totally check that place out, just to, even for the history or to support Trav and his ventures. It was cool when we were leaving. There's I don't know if it's an electrical cabinet or something on the street outside, but there were stickers all over it. It was all slapped up. And I saw there, I think I posted a picture of it, where there was a DTA Records, there was a famous OG sticker, and then there was a Travis Barker sticker on it. So I thought that was so dope. Otherwise, you would have no clue that Travis is affiliated with it at all. But those little stickers on the outside, I was like, oh yeah, I got you. I see what's going on here. This is pretty rad. So yeah, we get to the hotel, and that night we're going to the Dodgers game Saturday in LA. And I rooted for the Dodgers for a long time, so it was magical to pull up on that place. It really is kind of exclusive. It's almost up on a hill. I felt like we were pulling into Disney World or Disneyland. It has such a rad retro vibe to it. And again, just me being the baseball nerd I am, thinking about the history with, Jackie Robinson played here, and Babe Ruth actually coached for the Dodgers. And I mean, there's just so much history that happened with that organization and within that building. And it was super old school, super vintage. And it was just really rad to be there. We had great seats. I did try a Dodger dog. I know they're like super famous for their hot dogs. I don't usually fuck around with hot dogs, but I had to eat one. It was solid. I don't know how you grade hot dogs, but it was okay. My buddy seemed to be impressed with him. And it was just, really cool. The Dodgers won. And it was a great time. That was a bucket list thing of mine. I'm all about trying to hit as many stadiums and just catch as many games as I can. So it was really cool to see that. The next day, we just had to explore LA a little bit. So one of the places that one of my followers told me to hit up for sure was Amoeba Records. And we parked right by it, and there was a fucking line forever to get into that store. It's like a huge record store. I feel like I've seen videos of a lot of bands even playing on their little stage in there. I think I've even seen Skiba playing there in some capacity. And we waited. It was probably 40 minutes to get in. I think they were taking the COVID stuff pretty serious. They were making everybody sanitize before you go in, only letting a limited amount of people in. And so we finally got in. It was a huge, huge record shop. It was pretty cool. They had collectibles, they had pins, they had patches. Unfortunately, I didn't find any rare Blink stuff there, but they did have the 9 vinyl. They did have Simple Creatures, Everything Opposite vinyl, and it was a cool experience for sure. Nearby was Palladium, so it was cool to see that building that, that was my last memory of being in California. I was only in California 2 days. It was to see Untitled Anniversary Show Night 1 and Night 2 at Palladium. So it was cool just to go back down memory lane, see that, like, God, we fucking saw Blink-182 there, which is just rad. They were doing some sort of construction or something in the back, so we really didn't get to see too much of the backside where we were hanging out in line forever, where we met Travis afterwards or anything like that. But it was cool to see. In the meantime, we kind of walked the Hollywood Stars, which it's always funny, and I remember this from my brief time there before. When you're walking, you want to take in what's around you and look out for rad stores or whatever to go in. But when you're staring at those fucking stars, like, all you do is stare down. And I mean, as much as I wanted to look up and look for something, I just couldn't help but keep staring down at these fucking stars. And I was just thinking, okay, I'm going to miss somebody rad or that I want to take a picture of, or who knows what's going to happen. So I could totally see me just walking into traffic, following those stars and getting drilled by a car or something. But I didn't see, I'm trying to think of the most rad one I saw. I saw Jack White, which was cool. I didn't see, and my buddy Googled when we were there, how the fuck does Blink not have a star? I guess they don't have a star, and none of them have a star, which is absolutely blows my mind, being from the area, as huge as they got. And I saw tons of people in bands who Blink should definitely have one above them. But I think that was probably the coolest one. Trying to think. I don't know. Apparently, we just missed the Eminem one, which I would have been down to see and take a picture of. But anyways, it wasn't anything too crazy. So, the LA trip, the Cali trip was dope. Again, that was something that I really just wanted to do to get away for a little bit. I've been so sick. Everybody's been locked up. I needed just a break from my job and from responsibilities. And I thought it was rad. Appreciate everybody who, kind of followed me along on the journey. The Santa Monica Pier was dope. We did hit that up. During the day, it was great. I was fine with it. During the night, we were trying to get dinner out there, and it was fucking sketchy. There were so many people out there, and that was really the only time during the trip where I was like, holy fuck, I am definitely wearing my mask right here because there are a lot of people. I think that's really it in regards to the trip, to be honest. I got back late Monday, had off Tuesday to kind of refuel, get some shit done around the house, and then I was back at work today. So honestly, in LA, my favorite thing, attraction wise, that I totally think everybody should hit up if you get out there is the official Funko shop. So I'm not even like a Funko guy. I have the Blink ones. And we walked into this Funko shop, and I was thinking that it would just be this small little store, full of a million Funkos looking like somebody's bedroom who collects these. And it was absolutely amazing. They have life size Funko figures all over. So there was a Michael Jordan one, a full Avengers scene, Spider-Man, Groot. They had a Disney section, a Harry Potter section, a horror section. So I was taking pictures with life-size Freddy Funkos and Jason and Michael Myers. They had, Kool-Aid, Pokemon, the Batman section was insane. So if you get out there, and especially if you're into Funko Pops, totally check out that store, because I felt like they could have charged us, $15 to get in that store as an attraction, and I totally would have enjoyed it. It was just like a block north of Amoeba Records, I believe. So if you're in the vicinity, it's totally right there and totally worth it. So that's pretty much all I have in regards to my little trip. I don't know if anybody even cares too much about that, but I thought I'd talk about it just a little bit, even if you have to kind of live vicariously through some of my Blink pictures or whatever. It was totally fun. Really enjoyed it. And again, appreciate everybody who was giving me suggestions on places to hit up or food spots, or just liking the pictures and saying, rad shot, talk about it on the pod. Okay. We are going to switch gears to some serious shit in Angels and Airwaves land. So, there's a lot happening. So they announce sort of subtly that this almost era that's kicking off the new Angel stuff, they are referring to as Project Dreamland. Okay. So they've mentioned this. We still don't know 100% where this is. A couple weeks back, they had changed their website. So if you went to angelsandairwaves.com, it was a form you could fill out, and they wanted your address, phone number, email. And what ended up happening with that is they sent 50 people a tape recorder, a physical tape recorder, old school looking tape recorder, along with a piece of paper that kind of had a hidden code on it and some coordinates. And when you play this, you kind of get some of that space chatter at the beginning that you kind of hear at the beginning of some Angels and Airwaves songs, or almost like the beginning of Asthenia. And at the end of it, you heard that little gnarly guitar riff. And that was a tease of things to come. So that was really cool. The people who got this just randomly had this show up in the mail, and there were only 50 of them, which was pretty rad. So at that point, we knew something was coming. Well, then it came out that Euphoria was going to be coming soon. We didn't know if that was the name of the album. Was this a new song? What the fuck is this? Lo and behold, we find out that this is the new Angels and Airwaves song. So one thing I need to touch base on real quick before we dive into this song is the next thing that came out after those little packages is really out of nowhere last week. To the Stars / Angels and Airwaves announced the Empire Club. So the Empire Club, they had this new website, and there was 3 different tiers that you could pay and subscribe to. There was a $20 tier, there was a $50 tier, and then there was a $90 tier. And right away, I'm in, no question. So I signed up, and the different tiers, I'm trying to remember the differences. I think the $20 tier gets you access to like the private chat board, maybe some of the private merch from the store. And then the middle tier, which is $50 for a year, actually gets you some behind the scenes stuff that they're promising. They're hoping to do kind of some Q&As. They mention in the details for this that they're going to be sharing, demos, behind the scenes stuff, exclusive merchandise, early access to what we were hoping, would be songs and videos and tickets, that kind of thing. Now, I think the big difference between the $50 and the $90 tier is the $90 tier, I think, comes with some additional merch. Like, I think there's a member flag, and David Kennedy's making some super exclusive coffee for it. So, for the price difference there, I'm all about supporting these dudes. So, totally fine with that. At the end of the day, right off the bat, I hear people complaining about, the prices or giving these people money. And I'm like, okay, these are artists for one that you're supporting, and for the people who who are fanatic enough to comment this stuff on social media, and you're following and you're really invested in Tom and Angels, and Blink going back, the $50 tier broken down is $1.02 per month per band member. Okay, these are folks who have not been able to tour. Yeah, Tom's well off on Blink money, but regardless, support these artists, Matt and Allan and David, and just what they're doing in general. Like, I'm totally down to support people for art. So I don't understand the paywall or the complaints about the paywall, because for one, you could just not pay it if you're going to make a big hissy fit about it. And for two, I encourage people to just try it. And if you don't get anything out of it, or you don't feel like you're getting your money's worth, then by all means, you can cancel after the first year or whatever. But it's certainly worth a shot. People put a lot of work into this type of thing, trying to build up cool shit for a band that obviously means a lot to a lot of people. So let's check it out. I saw a lot of people saying this is Mod Life 2.0. To be honest, I wasn't super into Mod Life back in the day. I was kind of a broke college kid, really didn't have time or money to be that invested with it at that particular time. But I've heard a lot of good things from people, throughout the years, with meet and greets and cool videos and Q&As and just chatting with Tom in a video chat and shit like that. And so to me, that type of behind the scenes stuff is certainly worth $4 a month. Even if it's just, to support those dudes. So those were the different tiers that were kind of mentioned. I'm on there right away. There's a transmission section. There's a news section that kind of have announcements. And one of the big things that was on the transmissions little page, it was a countdown. And it had a timer, and that timer went to basically last night, so Tuesday night, at I think it was 11 p.m. my time. So I think midnight Eastern, 11 p.m. So one of the things that really the members had early access to was the Euphoria, what became what we knew was the Euphoria music video. And so that dropped last night. There's an exclusive merch section. There's a shirt in there, a hoodie in there, a couple things in there. But even if this thing just gets me early access to what they mentioned as, VIP packages, or early access to tickets, and even a sliver of rad merch, like an exclusive vinyl, or a limited signed bundle or something like that. I mean, even if I just get that out of this and nothing else came, no demos, no behind the scenes, no chatting with the members, to me, that's worth it alone, just for the early access to the tickets, and maybe get something rad out of it. So I hope people give it a shot. I'm on there. I've said what up to some people on there, recognize some of the usernames and such. So we did get the video last night. Now, the song was out a little bit earlier, and I saw people complaining about that. Now, the problem is people can't really control when shit leaks. So don't be mad at Angels and To the Stars because it fucking leaked early, and random people on Reddit got it for an hour before it was taken down or something like that. They can't really control that to some extent. So I wouldn't be too concerned about that. The video did drop early at the end of the countdown last night. And so when I woke up this morning, honestly, I was waiting for this song to be in my Apple Music, and it wasn't there yet. And it ended up releasing later today. So again, today is Wednesday. This song just dropped today. Like I said, I was able to listen to this once when I was in San Diego earlier, and I knew right away that this was a banger. And I knew right away from the chorus that Tom had teased this prior. So in some of these little demo clips that he releases, he does this every once in a while, it kind of stirring people up, big things coming. And this is one that he totally teased a while back. I can't remember if it was within the past 6 months or year or whatever, but it was out there. So I knew people would be stoked about this because when that clip came out, I remember people being stoked about just the very small tease we were getting from him at that point in time. So Euphoria dropped today, which is awesome. I was so stoked for everybody to finally get a chance to hear this. We've been waiting for a while. This has been, I think it's been 5 or 6 weeks since Tom said this would be out in a couple weeks. So this is a good lesson for the young fans. When Tom promises something, it'll come out. I mean, it's gonna come out, but you gotta usually double, sometimes triple the amount of time that he says. And the reason for this, because I've actually talked to Jeff about this, the reason for this is Tom gets so excited. And I think that's really cool because I would be the same way. Obviously, I am nowhere near even a sliver of the level of songwriting, and I have no clue what it's like to be in a band and release this stuff and work on this shit for so long. But one of the things that even when I was making a professional recorded song last year is I could not fucking keep any of this to myself. So like the second I got an edit back, I was like, oh my God, I've got to show this off. So I couldn't imagine what it's like to have a fan base, one, have people who are looking forward to your music, and to be working on it and pouring your heart and soul into it and getting rad shit, and to not do anything with it, especially when, people are notoriously bitching for more music from you all the time. And so what happens is Tom just gets excited. And I've heard Allan say on a podcast before that they get kind of mad at Tom. They don't personally hate him or anything, but they're like, dude, we're not supposed to share this yet. And he's out there sharing it. And so it's almost just like a little kid who just has to share the secret. There's no keeping it in. And so what happens is Tom just gets too excited and he has to put something out there. And so that's why this running joke of the big things coming is what it is. So this song comes out. I do want to mention one of the cool things that they had behind the scenes on the Empire Club is they had a couple videos. And one of them was David Kennedy, who is back for this album. He's back with Angels. And by the way, he did a great interview on the Toby Morse podcast about a month ago. And David's a pretty quiet guy. I've invited him on the podcast before, didn't hear back. He doesn't do many. He doesn't really talk much, it doesn't seem like. And he did a great podcast with them, with Toby and them. And he discussed how basically he was obviously with Angels for a while, and then he said he kind of bowed out and he got busy and he kind of went and did the James Coffey thing, started that up. Tom was busy launching To the Stars Academy. He was doing the Dreamwalker stuff with Allan at the time. So David's kind of been out of the picture, but he's back now. And it's really cool because he said that, while he's back with the band, and I'm sure he's going to tour with them and he's in the video and everything like that, he's not really so much involved in the writing process or recording process and stuff like that. But he said what's interesting this time around, and he loves it because it works out better for his family life and what he's doing with the coffee business and such, is he's almost like a fan. He's able to look at it objectively from the sidelines in some capacity. And what really got me stoked about this is he said he loves the new stuff. I mean, he's talking in the podcast to us as a fan himself, and he says he really thinks people will be stoked about it. And so he did kind of a behind the scenes video on the Empire Club that was kind of mentioned in that Toby Morse podcast. He was talking about how he was recording some stuff recently as kind of promo, and I definitely think he was referring to the behind the scenes video in the Empire Club that he was talking about there. So it was cool to see him. It was also cool to see they launched a video of Tom. It's not particularly long, probably 4 or 5 minutes, but it's really cool to hear Tom talking about this new album and where he's at in his life and with his creative process and stuff like that. So again, if that's just a sliver of the stuff that we get out of the Empire Club, I'm down with it, and obviously stoked to see more. So Euphoria finally drops today. It drops this afternoon. They had a YouTube premiere. Rise Records premiered it. And I was so stoked to kind of hear the reaction on this because I wasn't able to say too much of it. And it's not like I got to listen to this thing 50 times with, Bose headphones on or anything like that. But I knew right away that the fan base was probably going to be pretty stoked. To be honest, my takeaway even from one listen was, okay, this thing rips. I mean, there are some guitars coming in. It packs a punch. I knew people would dig the chorus. And so this finally drops today, along with an announcement of a couple tour dates. So the first one that they mentioned was Lollapalooza. So Angels and Airwaves is playing at Lollapalooza. That kicks off July 29th in Chicago. I've been to Lolla before. Several years back, I saw Eminem there and Outkast, which was super rad. It's in Chicago. It's beautiful at night during the summer. My wife has gone to Lolla several times. We talked about this. She actually sent me a screenshot today of saying, "Oh my God, Angels is playing Lolla." And I'm like, for one, I feel like I'm too old for festivals. Festivals just aren't my jam anymore. And for two, I don't know about the crowds and I don't know about potentially bringing a kiddo to the crowd. So I don't know if I'm going to do, I don't know if I'm going to do Lolla, but that's awesome that they're playing. I saw Foo Fighters are on the bill, Post Malone, Jimmy Eat World. So depending on what day that is, it may be rad to get a single day ticket and check that out for sure. They also mentioned two other dates at this point in time. October 23rd in New York. I know I've got some listeners in New York, some friends out there who will for sure be hitting that up. And then November 5th, they're playing in LA at Palladium, which would be so rad. I just was out there. I don't think I can swing it again. But again, big things are coming, more announcements are coming. So I'm not jumping on these shows just yet. But the fact that any shows are being announced right now is super rad. And I cannot wait to see live music. When I was at the pier, there was a kid drumming and another kid playing a violin. And I stood there and just watched them for probably 20, 25 minutes. And in my head, I'm thinking, this is the first fucking concert I've been to in almost 2 years. It was just incredible. I mean, I was literally like goosebumps, almost brought to tears just from these kids just playing their heart out on the Santa Monica Pier, at 9 o'clock on a Sunday night or something. So I can't imagine what it's going to be like to see Angels or Blink and some of these bands that just mean so much to us live after all this time off. I mean, I wish we could all just be vaccinated in a sweaty pit, just rocking the fuck out together. I would love to just experience that again as soon as possible and hopefully meet some of you guys out there, to be honest. So the good thing about the Empire Club with the tickets is if you are a member, which you can sign up right now if you'd like, you can buy these tickets right now. They had the regular tickets, which I think were about $45, which is fine. And they also had some VIP tickets. So again, early access to those to me is certainly worth $4 a month or whatever it's going to be. And I'm very curious to see how bands handle meet and greets post COVID. And, because that's honestly one of my favorite things is to go shake these dudes' hands and get an autograph and take a picture and, just shoot the shit and tell them how much their music means to us. And so it's going to be interesting to see how bands handle this. Right now, I didn't see a meet and greet on this. Now, one thing that's super rad is I think the VIP package includes sound check, which they did not do on the previous one. I think they did do that back in the Mod Life days. So that's something cool to be brought back. I've never been to an Angels sound check, so that's going to be super sick. I think I've mentioned prior that the Blink sound checks are, they're like my favorite thing in the world. I mean, there's usually 20 to 50 people there, and you literally just are right there feeling like you're hanging out with them as they're just jamming along, which is exactly what you are doing. So if you are a member, you can get those tickets right now. One thing that I noticed on the Angels and Airwaves website, which has changed today, is there's a new little logo. And there is at the bottom, there are different phases, and it looks like there are 8 phases total. We are now in phase 2. So phase 1 was kind of the announcement of Project Dreamland and shipping out, I think, some of those secret containers. Phase 2, which was today, was the release of Euphoria, along with some additional tour dates. And we still have several to go, so it's going to be interesting to see. Again, I know for a fact that they are not done announcing rad shit. Obviously, we still have the announcement. They have 2 more music videos done. I know that. So clearly there's going to be some more releases. We're obviously getting an album. Tom has, shown a picture of the completed hard drive. Aaron Rubens talked about this. And we're getting there. There's big things coming. I know it's cliche, but you got to think bands are just now starting to announce all this stuff, and we're about that time. So just be a little bit more patient. I think stuff will be coming up pretty soon. And again, it's going to be dope to hear live music. That's for damn sure. Okay. Let's jump into my thoughts on Euphoria. So when I launched the podcast, one of the things I was super stoked about is going over new music and just diving into new music and just rating it or reviewing or discussing it or whatever. Honestly, that's kind of what I envisioned this thing being, along with some cool history thrown in. Well, little did I know a pandemic would start a month after I launch it, and there would be no more concerts and not much more new music. So what happens here is Angels drops Rebel Girl 2019. They start a tour. Angels is back. This is the first time Tom has played with Angels since 2011, I think. So it had been a while. And then they released Kiss and Tell a little bit later in the tour, which I fucking love Kiss and Tell. I like both those songs a lot, but Kiss and Tell to me is like, that's what I want Tom and Angels to be. And then the pandemic hits, that tour is over. We start getting into the next year. The third song they have released is All That's Left Is Love. So that was beginning of the pandemic. So I can't remember the exact month, but I want to say April, May, June-ish last year. Since then, we've just been kind of in this waiting game, and we've all been wondering, what do you do during COVID? Do you release an album? Obviously, you can't tour. Does that matter? Is it a perfect time to release an album because people are stuck at home? They're totally, ready to engage in whatever is being tossed out there media-wise. Maybe they'll buy more merch. Bands make a lot of money off of merch, so this stuff has to be taken into consideration. Obviously, they/Rise Records didn't want to put it out at that time, or it just wasn't done, or for whatever reason, they felt compelled to continue working on it. So what happened is Tom and Angels, they've revisited this material. They took this time to really kind of touch up these songs. And Jeff even mentioned on the pod, which this was, I want to say 7 or 8 months ago when I had Jeff on. And he said on the pod that there is shit on here that he heard when they first wrote it, which was at the beginning, coming into that first Angels tour, 2019. He heard some of these songs, and then he heard them revisited after this tour, so almost a year later, and he said they're just so much better. And, Tom was re-recording all of his vocals to make sure everything was sounding cohesive. They were really touching this stuff up. And so what happened is they really took this time to revisit these songs and just make them better and better and better. And what I've been told is these songs are really good, and they're so much more rad even than they were to begin with, when they were already probably fucking dope as hell. So I am stoked for this album, and I really think the cool thing to me is at this point in time, there's not much pressure for Tom. He can write stuff. He can write whatever he feels like. Angels is not stuck in a particular space rock sound. He can do stuff from Rebel Girl to getting into some gnarly guitar riffs with Kiss and Tell, and it's perfectly fine. He's not stuck, in a box writing for, this has to be a Blink song, or this is a Boxcar song, or no, this is an Angel song. Right now, what we're going to get out of Tom is just what's pouring out of his heart and soul into this music, to be honest. And it doesn't have to be, set to the side as I'm saving this for Blink, or I'm saving this for a book or, some sort of EP or something like that. So I'm really looking forward to what this album holds, because I think it's going to be such a great snapshot of where Tom is at this point in his, artistic career, music career, to be honest. So the song drops at 2 o'clock today, was the premiere on YouTube. Everybody's heard it by now. Let's talk about it. So when I first heard this, what I noticed right away was one, it was packing a punch. It had that little bow, na, 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 bow, wow, 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 which was sick. I knew people would like that, just to kind of hear a gnarly little riff going. I knew Tom was bringing it with the melodies, which he usually does. And I knew that we had heard that chorus before. So, obviously, as we've discussed, this was something that Tom was working on, proud enough to share a snippet of it a while back. Now that it's officially out, one of the first things I like to do is, listen to it in my car, listen to it on nice headphones before I properly judge it. I've probably heard this, I don't know, 15, 20 times today already, just kind of playing it on repeat to get my thoughts on it. And, right away from that intro, I mean, it's just so chill. To me, I have Of Nightmares vibes from that intro. And I don't know if all of you have listened to that little EP. It was kind of a rad experimental EP he did with Allan back when they launched Poet Anderson. It was meant to kind of go alongside the Poet Anderson book, but it just had some rad instrumentals. And when that first starts, that's the vibe that I got. It's kind of this dark little dream world that it takes you to. And then right at that 31, 32 second mark where that riff kicks in, the bow, na, 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 bow, wow, wow, wow. I was like, holy shit, here we go. They kick in. Everybody's firing on all cylinders. I don't know how much love Allan and Matt Rubano are going to get on this, but they deserve some because they are crushing it. Pay attention to the bass when you do this. I like to listen to these and really try to hone in on a particular aspect of it each time I listen. So, on one of the playthroughs, I'm really paying attention to Tom's vocals and how many tracks we got going on. Is it panned this way, panned that way? On one of the takes, I like to listen to just the guitar. Sometimes I'll just listen to Allan. On the one you get to focus on Rubano on bass, this dude is jamming. So definitely listen to him, because one of my takeaways right off the bat was, God, Rubano's fucking killing this. And, it just packs that gnarly punch. And to me, this is what I want Angels and Airwaves to sound like in 2021. Yeah, it kind of has that little hints of the space sound. It kind of has, little nods to old AVA with some of the production tricks and the sounds going on here, but it's very much guitar driven. It's very much rock driven. It's totally different than something like Rebel Girl. So, when I was being asked about this, when I had heard it, people were like, what's it sound like? And to me, all I could really say was, it's definitely more Kiss and Tell than Rebel Girl for sure. Now, I like Rebel Girl. I think it's incredibly catchy. And if I was going to show, my mom or wife or, pick an Angel song for the radio, it's probably going to be Rebel Girl. If I'm going to pick an Angel song that I just want to rock the fuck out to, or that I want to learn on guitar, or, be in a pit at a concert at, it's going to be Kiss and Tell or something more along the lines of this. So this is where that song was taking me initially from the get-go. Tom comes in with just a gnarly melodic vocal delivery, and that's what he does. I mean, he's so fucking good at just these recognizable deliveries. And so, dating back even to Love and Neighborhoods, what's interesting about Tom's lyrics is, while I end up learning them and knowing them, it takes me a lot of listens just to kind of understand what he's going on. And even on Neighborhoods, to this day, there's times where I'll listen to certain verses or certain choruses. I'm like, I don't even know what the fuck Tom's saying right here, to be honest. But it doesn't matter, because the melody is so good and the song is so good. And so right away, after listening this all, 20 times today, I still don't have the words memorized. None of them are just like, burned into my brain at this point. However, once I read along with the lyrics and continuing to listen to it, I mean, they're pretty dope. So, I mean, looking at the lyrics, which they have the official lyrics in the description of the video, by the way. I mean, right off the bat, hanging on to a spinning wheel, you're a broken soul and a broken girl. I mean, that's pretty deep right there. Pretty girl, let your inside heal. You abuse yourself and it's all you feel. I mean, to me, that's a pretty cool line. I mean, let your inside heal. You abuse yourself. It's all you feel. To me, that hit me pretty hard because, being, I don't know if it's judgmental of myself or hard on myself. That's all I feel sometimes. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. And when you get in that state of mind where it's like, gosh, I'm either a failure or I'm not happy or this isn't what I want to be doing with my life, I think what that line says to me is, you're abusing yourself by bringing this guilt upon yourself or by constantly making yourself feel this way. And it's all you feel. And then he comes back, I don't mind. We're just playing here. I'm alert this time like fucking Paul Revere. So I'm all about some well-placed cuss words. And one thing, as silly as it sounds, I like that Tom cusses in this song. And I felt the same way with Blink on Quarantine. I loved when Mark came in with, I guess I'm blessed to feel so fucking bored. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just too many years of my mom making me buy censored CDs from Walmart or what it is. But I like my Blink dudes with cuss words in there. So I'm all for these F-bombs he's got in here. The part where I was really thinking like, oh shit, Tom's got this going on right here. He says, through the phone when you lost your shit with your high heels on and your red lipstick. And the way he delivers that, and especially if you watch the video, I remember just watching it for the first time. I was like, Tom's got some swag to him right now. Like, Tom's got the mojo back. Like, honestly, like, get it, dude. He's coming with it, not fucking around. Like his delivery on this shit and the way he's dancing along with his moves and just the kind of snarls he's doing along with it. Like he's not fucking around on this song at all. It's pretty dope. Get on your pretty girl. Are you home? That's right. Get on your knees. We're going to play tonight. I Can Die Here Now by Euphoria. So he's explaining some pretty crazy shit going on. The little pre-chorus, you're such a fool, this modern love. Oh, it's like the wind has killed the dove. Please say it now. We've played enough. Lost inside my mind. It's like a drug. And then when that chorus kicks in, it's just anthemic. It's so, the song kind of switches gears. And some of the people I've seen are like, it almost sounds like a couple different songs in one, but to me that's cool. It takes you on kind of different journeys and it kind of switches here and there. It's nothing that I would expect or that I figured would be coming into this, so I just love where he comes in with, it's hard to live if you're hurting, it's hard to live when you've always been let down. I mean, that alone, those two lines, combined with the line we just spoke about earlier about kind of being down on yourself, I mean, those are some pretty powerful lines to be honest. I mean, it's hard to live if you're hurting. It's hard to live when you've always been let down. A little kid and her villain. She never ran because she never really knew how. So let the wolves come and rip that bad man down. You're in a war, but the end is in sight now. The enemy is unguarded. So let the motherfucker know his time's run out. Damn. Get it, Tom? Like, I swear, when I was listening to this over and over, I'm like, Tom just is... Not that it's ego. I mean, I don't know a better word for it and I know swag is like outdated. Nobody uses it anymore, but dude's dripping some swag right there. It's just like fucking straight up getting it. And I mean, that combined with just that gnarly little guitar riff, like I can picture Tom just coming up with that riff and starting the song that way and then just spitting this stuff out and it just coming together so perfectly. I mean, I remember there was a tweet by somebody, I don't know if it was a rapper or somebody, but they had quite a few followers and I saw it probably 6 or 7 years ago. And it said, Tom DeLonge got bars. And what they meant by that is like, this dude can flow. Like, I love hip hop. I listen to a ton of hip hop. I enjoy rap and all types of different artists in that scene and genre. And, the way that Tom delivers these, and Mark's good at this too, and Skiba's great at this as well. I mean, these dudes are spitting, to be honest, the way they're rhyming shit and the way they're putting syllables and lines together to tell a story. I mean, it really is pretty dope, especially for this genre. So, to me, my takeaways for sure were, this is what I would expect these dudes to sound like when you get all these dudes together to jam. I mean, all things considered, it's a pretty dark and progressive song in Angels and Airwaves land. I mean, this is not something that you would hear on I Empire or We Don't Need to Whisper. It's probably, more along the lines of Dreamwalker, but I don't even know that it fits there because I feel like it's even more guitar driven and just kind of new wave than that. So I don't even know where to put it, but if this is even a fraction of what we get on this new album, I'm fucking stoked for it. Again, the thing that I like and I'm looking forward to so much with this album is there is not going to be any boundaries at all. This is what Tom wants to be writing right now. And I think something like even this song today, if he was in Blink, I think that idea would be translated into Blink, but it's just going to be Angels and Airwaves. I don't think, a lot of people are going to be waiting for this fucking song that he said is kind of boxcar sounding. And I think they even used the boxcar guitar on one of them. I don't know that I hear too much boxcar on this one, to be honest. I saw a comment earlier. Somebody said that they love it. It's like Boxcar Racer meets a 1980s arcade. And I don't know that I agree with that completely. That's certainly an interesting way of putting it for sure, because I do think the way that Tom likes mixing these space sounds that are almost kind of 80s-ish with those influences, along with some crunchy guitars these days and some distorted guitars. That's certainly an interesting way of thinking about it. But I don't necessarily see this as a boxcar song or sounding song. I don't know. It's just, it's so tough because, Boxcar is so long ago. And to me, Boxcar, like Plus 44, is just such a snapshot of that period in time that I don't want either one of those bands recreating or making anything new. I think those albums need to stand on their own as is. I'm all for like an anniversary tour or anniversary show or, maybe an unreleased track or something like that. But I just don't think those things can be recreated. And so I think it's kind of unfair to put it up against that because like, oh, is this a boxcar song? Well, to me, it's all Tom. So any fucking song, depending on the producer or whether it's Travis or Allan or Mark and Matt and Allan, regardless of who's in the room, it's a Tom song. And depending on who was in there, that's going to factor it along with just the time and whatever his influences are at that time. So it's kind of unfair to say, oh, this doesn't sound like Boxcar. Well, it's not. I don't think it's going to be honest. I mean, you might get a riff or something, but to me, that's just what Tom's up to these days. I mean, it's all just music from this dude. So it's hard for me, and I'm glad we're at a point in time where we don't have to worry about if this is tied to a book. Clearly, I don't think this is going to be tied to a movie unless we find out something with this Project Dreamland here in the next couple days. It makes me sound like a dumbass. But there's not going to be any boundaries on this. I think we're just going to get a nice snapshot of where Tom is at this point in his career. And it's awesome to see him passionate about making music. Clearly, he is stoked for this stuff. I'm stoked that today is kicking off yet another hopefully rad era of Angels and Airwaves. We got some show announcements. We got an exclusive new fan club that hopefully we get some more announcements, some more behind the scenes stuff coming. And I know for sure we have, 2 more songs coming, hopefully sooner than later. So, when all is said and done, my thoughts on today were rad step in the right direction, I think, for Angels and Airwaves. Stoked to see what's going to come next. I really enjoy the song. I think matched up against the previous releases, it's definitely better than All That's Left Is Love for me. It's definitely better than Rebel Girl for me. I think at this point, Kiss and Tell probably still holds the crown for kind of the new AVA. But I could see this one getting pretty close. I'm looking forward to listening to it quite a bit more, and I'll have to revisit it here in a couple months. Ask me in a couple months, and we'll see, because this song fucking rips, and I'm stoked for the new era. So that's really all I have for today's episode. I know I've been going on for a bit, but I wanted to hop on here, kind of update people on the trip. And obviously we've got some stuff to talk about. So exciting times here in AVA land. Curious to hear your thoughts on that. Definitely, as always, hit me up at any time at Poppin' Curbs on Twitter and Instagram. Definitely follow at Blink182 online. That's where I try to post rad shit. And I appreciate everybody tuning in, and I hope to talk to you soon. Peace.